may have been able to hear it there if you're listening closely. Pop, pop, pop. It was actually gunfire at a Denver pot rally that an estimated 80,000 people were attending yesterday. You can see the reaction. 2 people were shot. Both were expected to survive. Police are still looking for a couple of suspects. It all happened even with a heightened police presence in place in the wake of the Boston Marathon bombing. Police were not arresting people for smoking, though, because Colorado recently passed a law legalizing marijuana for recreational use. Both sides of the gun debate watched the biggest effort to pass new gun control legislation in America in nearly 2 decades fail in a series of votes in the Senate this week. President Obama is vowing to fight on and says he will do what he can without Congress. But where can gun control go from here? And will Democrats who didn't toe the line be facing heat from the White House? Let's debate it with Tammy Bruce, a radio show host and Fox News contributor, Alan Colmes, also a radio host and the author of Thank the Liberals for Saving America. Welcome to you both.
Hi.
Hi there. All right, Tammy, were these votes about conscience or re-election?
Well, you know, I'll tell you something. What happened with Manchin Toomey, which was the amendment, of course, that everyone was relying on when it came to the gun control efforts, fact of the matter is you have a bunch of Democrats who voted against that because they're needing re-election. They weren't going to sacrifice themselves or their careers for an Obama agenda. And I would suggest for a democratically controlled Senate that if they're going to write a bill that on its own can actually pass. It seems to me like none of them, neither the Republicans or the Democrats, wanted any of this to pass, and they're both using it just simply for electioneering, campaigning at this point.
Alan, after the votes, the president spoke publicly. He seemed to be very upset. He said it was a shameful day for Washington. How much of a loss is this for him, or is it?
It is a loss, and I think that he could have worked the reps better. He should have invited the swing senators to the White House. He could have maybe done more to convince them that this was the right thing to do. And it's not just the Republicans, it's not just the Democrats, 4 of whom voted against it. You got 41 Republicans who voted against it when 90% of the public really wants this. It has to do with disproportionate representation in the Senate, where you've got very large states in landmass but very small in population. So they don't represent as many people. That's the way the Senate works versus the House. And also the 60-vote rule. The fact that you get 57 votes, but you need 60 to get anything done is ridiculous.
Well, those tricky framers of the Constitution who wrote in all those Senate and House rules on our representatives here in Washington, you know, maybe they didn't foresee this exact showdown, but knew what they were doing in creating the 2 different houses. Let's talk about some of the Democrats who didn't line up with Senator Reid and with the president. We've got Heidi Heitkamp out of North Dakota. We've got Mark Begich of Alaska, Mark Pryor of Arkansas, Max Baucus of Montana. A lot of heat after those votes went down. We're talking about things like the background check, universal background check, and the assault weapons ban. Tammy, do you think those 4 have gotten a little phone call or 2 in the wake of this?
Well, you know, maybe, but look, really, these are people who live in effectively red states, essentially. They are also elected to represent their constituencies, which they've done. They realize that they're going to have to be reelected. They're not going to throw themselves in the Obama volcano. This is what the founders wanted, as a matter of fact. They didn't want rushed legislation. They wanted thoughtful, slow dynamics. They preferred gridlock in a certain way so that you didn't have demagoguery ruling the day. So I think that these are legislators who were thinking very seriously about what was going on. And the benefit, of course, of having, in a large sense, a divided Senate so that you don't have people rushing items, as we've seen like with Obamacare. It doesn't turn out very well. And you'd think that with a democratically controlled Senate, this tells you that, look, with a Democrat president, that this is something that shouldn't have passed. It was badly done. You'd think they'd write a bill that wouldn't need an amendment in order to get through. But on such a major social issue, they didn't do a very good job, either side.
Well, Alan, Democrats say that this isn't over, so how do they manage it the next time around? Because there is going to be another vote at some point.
Elect more progressive Democrats. And one thing, this was a mild bill. This wasn't even a good bill from my standpoint as a progressive or a liberal Democrat, because it had too many holes in it. You could still sell to friends, and somebody could become a friend very quickly. You could sell to family members. It also just did away with the possibility of a gun registry. So the fact that this couldn't even pass shows how even a mild measure like this, which had not a lot of teeth in it, couldn't even get done. It's very, very sad. It's too bad. And when 90% of the public, if you want to believe the ABC Washington Post poll, 83%, some other polls, really was for this.
All right, we got to
Well,
leave
here's
it there,
the issue.
but we'll end on a moment of agreement for two very different sets of reasons. Both of you thought the bill was no good. We'll see what lawmakers offer up the next time. Tammy Bruce, Alan Colmes, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.